to you by Luda Gear, athletic support items created by grapplers for grapplers.
Yeah. Check it out.
Hello, Grappling fans. I hope you guys are having a great day. It is a fantastic day for us over here on the Best Coast. It is, 12:27 our time. But we have a guest over kind of on the East Coast. A gentleman who he's an amazing competitor. But this man has somehow found his way into my stratosphere as a friend, as a peer, as a coach to many of my friends who have competed against him. So I've actually had to give suggestions on, here's a way I think that you could beat him. It's a very difficult equation. I will tell you this right now. And the best part is like every time I've seen footage of him competing, especially against my friends, I just go, yeah, that checks out. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. He's our now good friend, Enrico Cocco. Enrico, how are you doing, sir?
What's up, Raph? I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here.
It's very, very nice that you are here. And you know the nicest part about this is, dude, and I made mention of this, you've competed against a number of my friends, many of whom are very close to me, and every one of them has been like, he's the best. Like, I don't like competing against him at all, but he's the nicest human being. And I was like, that's really cool because... in jiu-jitsu we get used to, or in combat sports, there's a little bit of a conception of, I gotta dislike this guy,
Right. Yeah. I'm very competitive, but I mean, I guess I don't put that in a, kind of cocky, annoying way. So, I always want the best out of myself, but whatever, I don't take it personally, and I don't like to talk down on guys, whatever.
No, and you had all the right reason in the world to, because you compete against my friend Joey House, who, he's the worst. And if I were you, even if I didn't talk shit about other people, I'd be like, well, this clown over here clearly is the worst. So to me, I just love the fact that I hear stories. Joey was telling me, he's like, yo, Enrico afterwards was like saying all these nice things, and we were drinking. My buddy John Combs was like, dude, he's just the shit, man. So it's so funny when I hear all these great stories, and they've not set up camp or anything, but they've just like literally come and train, and they'll be like, oh, can you replicate this of Enrico's? And I was like, oh no, I cannot. No. Good luck though.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
I try.
So,
yeah, both those guys are really nice guys, so,
Yeah, I mean, it helps when they're, they've got a good personality and they kind of understand the deal. Like, they want to be competitive and they want to give a good clash as well. So that always makes me really happy. We have kind of a saying on this show, which is, at some point, some of our friends are going to compete against each other. It's just, we know too many people. At a certain point, this guy is going to compete against this guy. They're rivals, but,
Of course, yeah. I mean, I just had to fight one of my friends last weekend. It's just the opportunity came up, and we both wanted it. So, it happens.
Who was this friend, and where were you competing at?
This is Danny Chavez. He's an MMA fighter. He's more known for MMA, but I got an opportunity to compete at the Burt Watson Promotions MMA Live, so we had a super fight in the cage there, submission-only super fight.
So this is intriguing because I saw the end result photo. I didn't actually see the match, but did you finish this with like a triangle armbar?
Yeah, so it was a mounted triangle armbar. I lost like the first minute of the match. I got thrown and kind of this guy went for a flying armbar on me and a leg lock. I was a little bit like, what's going on the first minute, but I got it back in my course, and then slowly got the momentum rolling and eventually got the finish.
Okay, because again, it's kind of it's funny because the things that we do know about you're always super chill. Even like you're associated as being Zen, and that is part of the thing that you put into your own vibe. But like, where does this come from? I want to go all the way back. Where does jiu-jitsu start for you, man?
Yeah, well, the Zen name my academy is called Zen Jiu-Jitsu. I got that from my parents, who have been teaching Taekwondo since before I was born. So their system, their founder of their system is called Zen Mukwan. So just basically, it's a state of just being in the present moment and flowing, kind of. So I try to keep that philosophy going when I compete. Don't overthink things too much. You're going to go in there and do it. So, the more you stress out about it, it's just wasted energy. So I try to be as relaxed as you can be. We're all human, obviously. So, we all have emotions, but I try to keep an even keel in pressure situations.
So, when you have parents who are involved in martial arts, is it a choice? Do you get a say in this? Or are you just from day one put into martial arts and been like, well, this is what you're going to do forever now?
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of wanted to do it just because I'm the youngest sibling out of four, so I saw all my older brother and two older sisters training every day and, doing, really cool things. And I was like, oh, man, I want to try this too. And but yes, there was definitely lots of days where I did not want to go to Taekwondo. I wanted to stay home and watch cartoons or whatever. But no matter what, I had to be at the gym 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, every day. So, it definitely taught me discipline, and that's what eventually led me to jiu-jitsu. My sister's boyfriend at the time was a wrestler. He got into jiu-jitsu after, and he eventually asked my father to teach a program out of his gym, and that's how I got introduced to the jiu-jitsu.
Intriguing. So, okay, this is a little different because a lot of us just kind of fall into it, sometimes through other sports, sometimes through a friend, or, everybody's like, the UFC did it for me.
Right,
but you
right.
had your parents kind of guiding your MMA, or your mixed martial arts journey, I should say. When that does happen, though, when does it officially become something that you want to do? Because there is usually a distinct moment when you're like, no, I think this is cool and I think this is for me.
Right. Well, I kind of made that decision myself because, we were a Taekwondo family, and my dad really, was Taekwondo is the best, like that's all you need. And when I started finding out about jiu-jitsu, I had already seen the UFC from the beginning and everything, but I always thought it's just, they haven't met a real striker, a real good practitioner, and then by the time I was like 13 when I tried it out, and I just kept getting, pinned down and submitted over and over, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this, and then humbled myself down, and like it happens to a lot of us, you just, get the bug and fall in love, and, I decided, this is what I wanted to do, and, my parents weren't necessarily happy about it, but eventually they saw how much I liked it, and they always supported me, but I'm sure part of him would have wanted me to stick just to Taekwondo.
There's a large part of this that makes it feel like you're the story that comes home and goes, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu, and they're like, oh my God, no son of mine, get out, leave, like to me that's rough. Why it's a little bit funny in that sense.
Yeah, because I started not really like most traditional people. Like I never did gi in my life, I never did gi. The guys I learned from, they kind of just was kind of a hybrid freestyle shoot fighting type style, I guess, back then. And we never, we always trained kind of MMA style in the beginning. We would grapple with, ground and pound. Like they wouldn't punch me in the face or anything. I was a 13-year-old kid, but we would pretty much be working MMA geared the whole time. So at first that was like one of my goals. I wanted to be an MMA fighter. I eventually did fight MMA professionally, but I changed my course. Again, my parents weren't happy with that decision, but it was something I wanted to try out, and I'm glad I did. But yeah, I'm definitely much happier just grappling and doing jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean, the long term better for you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's a hard conversation I find with a lot of my friends, which is I do feel if they have that impulse and they are committed, sometimes they do have to fight MMA. Like, you want them to do it at least when they're healthy enough to do it and they're fit enough to do it. So it's difficult because, there are some people that you go, hey, I definitely want to fight MMA, and you go, that's a bad choice. I would not do that if I were you.
Yeah.
But
a few people had to talk down.
But then I feel like the hardest part of that is there are going to be those people who just will find a way to do it. And those people, and you say, like, listen, if it's an impulse that you've got to scratch, you got to do it because you don't want to do it when it's way too late. You don't want to try to do it when your body should not be doing that kind of extreme thing. And it's always nice because I've always been a person that's like, when I cover events and I'm interviewing people or I'm going to different MMA or jiu-jitsu events, there's not an impulse in here that says, I need to do that. So I have a clear, very, very clear outside perspective that I like to tell my friends. I'm like, no, I know for sure I'm not that guy. I'm good. I love training. I love, even with a good competitive class, I love being in those classes. But, nah, I got other stuff to do, and I'll come watch you guys, though. So let me ask this, because one of the things that was very interesting about your story is you were at a very young age mixed martial arts and given responsibility. What did that feel like? Because to me, I was doing tons of other things when I'm a teenager. The last thing I think anybody would ever have me do is be in charge and teaching them forms of combat or how to defend themselves. What did that feel like when you were that young?
Yeah, it's a little funny, because you're a kid still, but I kind of felt like I had to prove things a lot more back then, just because, I would be teaching adults a lot of times, and they're like, who's this kid teaching me, and, I had to gain the respect, and the only way was, by physically showing them that I could do so, so, I mean, I guess I credit that to my parents too, though. They always taught us to be, disciplined and everything, so I never felt like abusing the power, which I see happens too often in our sport. A lot of times guys in the instructor role like to abuse that power a lot. So, I guess I credit that to my parents and the guys around me. They were, showing me just to, keep it cool. Don't get ahead of yourself. But I mean, I've done it for so long, seeing my parents teach since I was 4 years old, that I've kind of seen that structure of teaching every day, that it just felt, I guess, kind of the natural thing to do.
This has intrigued me because I just don't know it. But did you ever have any problems with, because you had mentioned the idea of gaining everybody's respect, but did you ever have any problems? Because I know, as a smartass and a comic, if I see a 16-year-old, I'm definitely being like, what's this kid doing here?
Yeah.
No,
definitely.
Did you ever have that as an issue?
Yeah. Again, I mean, like, it would quickly get resolved because, I would try to prove my point, but yeah, definitely all the time. I used to teach like a introduction program at my ex-brother-in-law's academy, and they had, plenty of people coming in all the time, and I was the first guy teaching them. So, you'd get all kinds of characters, get, big, strong guys. And I remember just, different, these things happen all the time. But yeah, I teach a technique, and they're like, oh, it's not working. And then I try to do the technique to them, and then I can't do it because they're just like resisting all out then. And I'm like, all right, that's great. You know what I'm trying to do right now. So obviously you could resist against it, but then later I'd have to make sure I grapple with them and then show them that, the technique works, in application. So, I never really had too much of a problem.
I mean, it definitely explains a lot of your competitive style, because I see you compete with people of many different sizes and shapes, and you're a weird, ambiguous size. Like, I could peg you as being 20 pounds lighter than you really are.
Right.
Just because you look skinnier. But the thing is like, again, from the intel I've gotten from my friends, they're like, no, he's deceptively strong. Like, this dude is there. And this is also from Wagner himself. It's like, yo, no joke, dude. Super strong. Like, all these people who speak very kindly and well of what it is you do, I feel, and maybe I'm wrong here, but maybe those reps that you were putting in when you were a kid, and especially smaller,
Oh yeah.
come to pay off. So here's a question. When does this competitive drive begin? Because you're indoctrinated from mixed martial arts from day one. I'm assuming you're competing as early as, like, when you're a kid, like 6, 7, somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had the Taekwondo. We weren't like a heavy competition-based school, but we did compete. And, eventually I kind of held out a while. I was probably like 7 or 8 when I did my first tournaments. And, I enjoyed them. I liked it. I enjoyed the experience, so I wanted to keep doing it. And when I got into jiu-jitsu, like you said, it's helped now, build my strength. I was a 13-year-old boy going against, grown men. There wasn't like a teens program or anything. I didn't get one submission my first year of training, so it was like about a year in training. And then finally Naga came to Miami for the first time, and we're like, oh, okay, we're going to do this tournament, and I did the Naga, and, I won the kids division. And, from there I was hooked. I was trying to find every tournament we could do. So traveling, however I could get it done, road trips, whatever.
What's the furthest you traveled as a kid to get that kind of competition?
Yeah, I mean, I did a few Grappler's Quests and Nagas in New Jersey. I did a few of those when I was 15, 14, 15.
And we're talking, you're traveling up from Miami. So Miami's been home base for forever, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Miami. So yeah, I mean, they would come to Miami like once a year. So, we wanted to compete more. And yeah, so we would take some trips, and I was, the first time I won the ADCC trials in 2009, I had to drive myself over there. It was like horrendous. I got like a $500 speeding ticket. My car got towed. I got a flat tire. I was like, man, if I didn't win the trials, this would have been the worst trip ever, but.
So, okay, let's stick here, because I don't know how many people have this kind of a story. What? So you were driving, you were speeding, which was probably you just trying to get out of every part that wasn't New Jersey.
I mean, it's a long drive, yeah. So whatever. One of these states, like I think it was Georgia or South Carolina, I got hit with like a big speeding ticket, which I don't know if whatever, it was an over $500 ticket, then got a flat tire while I was in New York. I had to change the tire. Then after the tournament, we parked at a friend's house there, and the neighbor towed my car. I had to go get my car from being impounded, so I ended up, spending all kinds of money, let alone just driving and paying for the gas and, lodging and whatnot. So, but yeah, it was worth it. Got my first ticket at ADCC, so.
Okay.
It was all worth it.
Man, that's Jesus Christ. I mean, you definitely earned your ticket there. It's intriguing to me. You How many ADCC trials did you win?
I've won 3. I've competed. Well, I've placed in 5. The last one I took bronze. I've won 3 others. In 2013, I lost to Wagner in the semifinal 0-0 ref decision. Besides that, I mean, from 2009 till 2019, I mean, I've pretty much won every match in the trials except for Wagner, and this last trials, William Tackett beat me 2-0. So, besides that, actually my first trials was 2007, which that was invitation only back then. And I had Mike Feller the second round, and we had a really good battle in overtime. He ended up beating me 2-0 in overtime. And then that year he ended up beating Renzo Gracie and Salo Ribeiro in ADCC. So I was like, wow, okay, maybe I could compete at this level, when I saw that. So,
man, what a quick curve you had, because you got your black belt when you were 21, right?
Yeah, 20, yeah.
Okay. Well, nobody's checking IDs here. All right, you're fine.
Right, close enough there.
But I mean, man, I thought you'd at least be able to gamble and drink before you were able to get your black belt. But look at that. So 20 years old, you're right in the thick of things. You're at ADCC. The reason why is because I have to be very forthcoming with you. It is very awkward to see an ADCC list without your name, and it always makes me a little weirded out when I'm like, you've won the trials like 3 times, and to not see your name on there, it's just, I don't know what you have to do to be like, hey, I think I should be here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. I haven't done what I've wanted to do in ADCC, so again, it's tough. It's the toughest tournament in the world just to get there, so I've had a lot of tough first round matches, that have been really close and competitive, and just haven't been edged out a little bit. So, I'll keep grinding though. Whatever. That's what I tell people though. You gotta stick it through, because when I was 15, I won already men's advanced divisions. And they're like telling me, man, by the time you're 18, you're gonna be world champion. You're gonna be, So I'm still working at it. I'm still grinding. So it's like you gotta have perseverance. Sometimes you think it's not gonna fall into your lap. You gotta keep pushing it. And a lot of times I see guys that are like, I've seen so many prodigies and studs that have, kind of fallen by the wayside over time just because they can't stick out the grind. It's a long grind, and it's full of ups and downs. So,
Understandable. I just, I feel there should be some sort of golden ticket. Like, once is, okay, you've won 1 ADCC trials. Good for you. 2 is, okay, that's a pretty hard thing to do. When you hat trick it, I think they should be giving you like a jacket or something. Like a little golden ticket jacket that you just kind of.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I mean, I'm hoping.
Is this a golden ticket to the ADCC?
Right. Well, that's how I felt last time, because I had the birth of my daughter last ADCC, so I wasn't able to do the trials. I was real busy with that, and. I just wrote them an email, I'm like, look, I'm ready if anything falls out, and then literally like a week before the tournament, they're like, are you ready to do ADCC? Because I'm like, oh my God, I felt like I had, the Willy Wonka golden ticket there, so we'll see, man. I'm hoping to push it hard this year, keep proving, I got some big matches coming up, so I'm hoping to keep winning and, maybe get enough attention, and if the timing is right, hopefully I can slip my way back in there. There's a lot of time till ADCC, so I know those brackets will change a bit till now, I'm sure.
I just always laugh because, I know how many people look at those brackets. I know how many people are like, hey, did you injure yourself? No, you should rest that. That's really bad. You're not gonna be able to compete for a long time on that. You should sit down, Like, everybody gets very, very like, oh, is that a ladder? You should walk underneath that when it comes ADCC time.
Right.
suddenly everybody's superstitious, everybody's super crazy in their way. So, but just as somebody, and I wanted to make sure that you understand from people who are fans of the sport, there are some names that get mentioned as to why do they have to compete. Like when I see Josh Hinger out there, trying to punch his ticket in, I'm always like, you can sit down. I don't need you. We're good.
Right.
Let's just push through. But I think that is part of the appeal of the tournament is because of its exclusivity. That's what makes it feel all that much more prestigious to those who do win.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a tough balance.
I feel you. That's why, I'm not complaining or anything because I know a lot of guys that complain, but, yeah, obviously I didn't win the trials this year. I had my opportunity. I fell a little bit short. So, it is what it is, yeah, it sucks, but, that's how the ADCC is. It's every 2 years, so hopefully there's still hope there, but whatever. If it's not, it's just going to have to be 2 years from now,
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this because the story that really, I kind of got Wagner's side on this just when I did talk with him, but this is such a remarkable story in that you guys compete against each other, and then not too long after that, you guys start training regularly together. Do you mind kind of sharing how that went down? Because this is not something you necessarily hear all of the time, especially at an ADCC level.
Right. Yeah. Well, me and Wagner, we've competed a lot amongst each other. We've seen each other a lot in the competition circuit. So we've been in each other's bracket a few times. And I had a super fight against, he was a last minute replacement. That was before anyone knew Wagner Rocha. A long time ago at Anaga, this was 10 years ago, I fought him and he beat me by 2 points that day. But whatever, we kept doing our own thing. We'd talk to each other when we'd see each other. Then we competed against trials, and we had a really tough battle. 0-0 again, ref decision. They gave him the call, and then after, he's like, "Man," he's like, "You're really good." He's like, "We should train sometime." I was like, "Yeah, bro, let's train." He's like, "Okay, we're gonna set it up." So whatever, we exchanged information, and then that's how I got introduced to Cyborg. Again, I've met Cyborg many times, but he's the one that put me in the door there. And Cyborg was super cool. The first time he let me in, and just very welcoming, and everyone's been really cool there. And yeah, gotten to train a lot with Wagner, which is we've both helped each other a lot. He's a amazing training partner. Awesome, tough as nails.
Is he though? Because I like Wagner a lot. I do, but there is one thing that I don't know that I would call him a great training partner, considering you guys are the test dummies for the this and sometimes the this, and it makes me wonder, yo, Wagner, love you, and every time he's like, "Oh man, I'm great," and I'm like, "I know, but I don't want to train with you. You're a good guy, and I'm glad we're just friends."
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit masochistic, I like a little bit of, I don't mind, that's what it comes down to in competition is the will, whose will is stronger. So, it's always a battle to the death when we train. So, it's something, I mean, you got to be careful with it because you do it too often and it's you get worn out. But, it's, I've definitely gained a lot from it. He's done some borderline schemy stuff when we've grappled, but whatever. I still got mad love for him. I know it's just in his nature.
I mean, here's the thing I will say that I've been highly entertained with Wagner about, which is, Wagner makes compelling cases in terms of he goes out, covers somebody's mouth, and the whole jiu-jitsu community is like, and the next week, you got Craig Jones doing the exact same thing, and Wagner's like, jiu-jitsu's sweetheart does it, and it's okay, I'm the bad guy, and I was like, I guess that's pretty fair. And even, Craig Jones is the first to admit it. He's like, oh yeah, I totally pulled a Wagner, oops. It's just funny to me in that sometimes, traditionally, we need to create good guys, bad guys, but I don't know that people fall into those categories all the time. I just think that Wagner's seen some momentum especially well-earned momentum within the past 2 years with combat jiu-jitsu, and I think that's been a great display for him. So,
Yeah.
I think he's been a lot more vocal about wanting to call his shot and be out there. And as a
Right.
result, that rising tide has always brought in great mentions of you as being a great training partner and stuff like that. But I just know the truth, which is he's got to practice that on somebody.
Yeah, it's fun, bro. Yeah, it's Wagner. He's had amazing last year and a half, 2 years, and I think he's embraced the bad guy. The whole and it's working well for him. He's if anything I could discredit of him from the past was sometimes he'd win matches very just slightly, like a 0-0 rep decision or kind of hold out and just kind of when now he's not really just trying to not lose, he's really just trying to win and finish the guy, which I think it's paid off and it's helping him out.
Well, I mean, the nice part is again, I can say these things now because we know each other and it's way easier to do it. But I'm seeing very shortly thereafter, seeing how they would adapt the rules and how they were maybe we should try this combat jiu-jitsu out. So seeing him call the ball and be listen, nobody's better at me than combat jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, kind of a thing is I don't know that he's wrong. It's I would like to see somebody try to top what he's done because he's the only person still with a knockout stoppage. So that's pretty impressive. So big kudos to him. But this isn't about him. I'm over Wagner.
Forget Wagner. Yeah,
forget him.
Forget about Wagner.
This dude's terrible. He's just covering people's mouths. What is he? A doctor? I love the fact, though, that even when I am talking with him, he has specific notes about your game. You are one of those people who, when you developed your leg attack system, when did you feel that you really had it honed down? Because I don't know if I can call it being ahead of the curve, because I don't know it that intimately, but you were definitely a practitioner that was competing on a high level with leg locks. When did you feel that you were really in the zone in creating your system for that?
Bro, I mean, I'm still working on it. Just it's every year I'm just relearning the same things. Tweaking the same things more and more. Yeah, what I thought I knew. When I released my DVD, till now, I've there's a lot of things that have changed, so and it's a constant evolution. If we don't evolve, then we're staying in the same spot. So I don't know if I've ever felt, but I think it was more a lack of other people not really having the knowledge there, more of that. Now I think it's caught up a lot. I still catch people in leg locks a lot, but more guys are willing to engage in that game now and are a lot more knowledgeable and comfortable in defending. So it's probably more of that, to be fair. But I feel better than ever now.
Let me ask this though. I mean, maybe you're just being super forthcoming in it, but I don't hear a ton of people ever verbally say, I'd like to get part of that DVD back. If for you, is it just that you learned something or that you wish you had a chance to kind of re-explain something? What does that mean for you? Because to me, I'm a writer, and there's never a moment where I wouldn't take back one of my pieces. There's never a moment where I wouldn't say, "Oh, let me go back and refix that."
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder if that's the case for you.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you're making these DVDs, it's time crunched. You're doing the DVD. You're filming for 12 hours straight. With one, a little lunch break in between. So by the end of it, you're fried. So you're you think, but then the next day, maybe you're oh man, maybe I talked too much about this, or I should have emphasized on this, or or whatever. Again, there's other things I've learned since then that could be added on. There's always add-ons.
Sure.
So
Okay. I mean,
yeah, and I'm never satisfied with my work too. Like a lot of times, even when I compete and stuff, I'm always just trying to see what I could have done better, and I'm always my worst critic, I guess.
I
So
mean, I understand that realm, but I also think that I always tell people I'm like I think as artists we tend to be in search of perfection, knowing that it can't happen, but that we get a little bit more motivated by the fact that there's always more to do. And
yeah, yeah,
so for me, it's like this, you're trying to run to catch up and beat what you've done before. When in actuality, sometimes if you really are honest with yourself, you're like, actually, that wasn't too bad. Like,
right,
when you
yeah.
can put some distance to it. Because I'll tell you this much, man. I don't know how much. I mean, I watched part of your DVD as study, and when I was doing it, there were a couple things that you did that I was just like, you go and just do this, and you're there, and I was like, I'm not there.
And the blue. There
You know
go.
what I mean? Like I would just like you had this one pop up move from somebody putting neon belly where you were able to get this inside heel hook, I believe.
Yes,
and I was
yes.
just like, what is this wizardry? And like, I swear to God, I was like, no, I get the mechanics of it. Let me see what I can do. And I was rolling with somebody. I went to go do it, and I was like, nope, not happening. But it looks amazing, and I was just like, I've got to one of these days. He and I are going to chat about this, but it was
Right.
just I appreciated what you had on your DVD. I think that you do have a fun instructional, and it is great because now we have a tapestry of different leg locks available to people. But it is always nice, and I think it is good to have those foundation pieces, and that was very helpful to me when I was starting to put part of my game together. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. I'm glad I could help. I'm hoping.
Well, you didn't really make a huge difference because I don't want to be the testimonial that ruins your career. That's like, oh, Raf, that's where he got it from.
That's right, baby.
It was so funny. I was training with a guy who's a really good friend of mine. He's an MMA fighter. And this dude, he's heavy, man. He's about a good 2 bills right now. And it's not just that he's 2 bills, it's that he knows how to use MMA pressure on top of you, right? And I had one fleeting moment where I had the straight footlock on him. And it just, like, he was concerned. He's literally, like, just barely gets out of it. He's like, hey, man, that was an A+, dude. That was really good. And I was like, I'm going to level with you, man. He's like, what's that? I go, I'm going to wake up tomorrow really pissed I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Like, real pissed that I had it. And he's like, looking at me and he goes, what are you going to do? I was like, well, now I'm going to watch more videos because
There you go.
I suck, so I hate you. But one of the things, though, that I did want to talk about a little bit as well. So we talked about this. We talked about, ADCC and competition. And one of the things that I see right now that made me want to chat with you is, especially right now, you're competing almost, you said on average, every 8 days for the next month or so, right?
Right. It's
Okay.
a 40-day block of every 8-day average. Yeah.
That's a tough schedule. Okay. How did that come together, and why are you competing so much, I guess, is the question.
Just I guess all these opportunities presented themselves at the same time, and I took a look at the schedule and I thought, you know what? I train hard all the time, I'm doing this every day anyway, so, why not? Let's go for it and let's see how it goes. Let's see how the buy is so far so good, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen so far, it's been looking pretty good for you.
Yeah. So, I'm young now, bro. I'm not getting any younger, so, I'm still kind of young, so, right now's the time to do it. So.
You're still young enough. I like the fact that, you can tell that we're all getting older when the prodigy is like, oh man, 30s. Woof.
I know.
Woof. Okay, that feels interesting on my body.
Yeah, I mean, it seems just like a blink ago, I was, the 17-year-old kid, competing and doing these, tournaments everywhere, and somewhere a decade just flew by, but I'm still still fighting the good fight, bro. But yeah, I mean, I could say I feel better than ever right now, and I've seen, yeah, guys, a lot of people inspiring me. Yeah, Wagner, he's really like coming to his own now, at like 37, Josh Hinger, he's really coming to his own now, like about the same age, so yeah, I'm not going to get obsessed over the number, just going to keep working, I feel like I keep getting better, so I'll keep grinding.
That's awesome. I had a joke recently with Hinger. I had only discovered this when I was like, listen, kid. And he's like, kid, why are you calling me a kid? I was like, I call everybody a kid. And he's like, why? I go, because I'm probably older than everybody. And he goes, when were you born? And we discovered right then and there I'm actually old or younger than him. And I was like, how does that
Yeah.
I was like, no, I shouldn't be younger than you. That doesn't make sense. I
Right.
act way older than you, too. Like, I actually have responsibility. I'm an adult. You're a child. That's not how this works. So, Hinger and I, on occasion, will joke about that. I am curious this. With such a long career in competing in both Taekwondo, mixed martial arts, MMA, especially in Jiu-Jitsu, what does competition mean for you now? Maybe has it changed? What symbolicness or significance does it hold within your life?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I have much more appreciation for it now that I am getting a little bit older, that yeah, I know that I'm really blessed to be able to get to do these things, so I think I just have a lot more fun competing now. I always had fun, but I think I would get more nervous about it before, I guess, kind of like it's a little mix, when you're a kid, you kind of just go out there like, whatever, it is what it is, but you get really emotional too sometimes, and now I'm just like, man, I just try to appreciate it and enjoy it, look around, think, feel the feelings that I'm feeling, because yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it forever, so, I'm right now, like, I'm just grateful, I'm just grateful I get to do this, and I'm trying to make the most out of it. I know I have the abilities. It's just like when it's your time, so it's just like I'm believing that everything is going to conspire together still, I'm still working for that, but I'm just having fun with it, man,
Good for you. I'm glad that you're able to be at a place. I do feel that does come with time. You hear different stories of when people find that they can actually enjoy themselves. And it's so
Right.
weird because some people have to go to a place that sometimes they don't get to enjoy it when they are competing.
Right,
And I
right.
always wonder, like, what got you there in the first place and what keeps you doing it, because that's where that pressure then starts to amount for a number of
Right.
competitors who may not see it happen. So it's very intriguing on the outside looking at it, and then sometimes having to like pull fighters aside and be like, are you cool? Like, are you okay? Because something seems a little off there, and sometimes they're like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, just a hunch,
All right.
um,
Yeah, man.
Here's something I'm also curious about. You are kind of this, I wouldn't say maybe a poster child, but you're one of the more notable people I know that are you vegan or veggie? What are you? I don't know exactly.
I'm veggie. No, I'm not,
You're
yeah,
vegan,
I've been,
okay.
no, I'm vegan. Yeah, I've been plant-based for over 10 years now.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Now, I'm clearly not. But
I wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah,
uh,
there's much heavier vegans than you. So, I mean, yeah,
I understand.
vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy. So,
I understand. No, it's not healthy. Well, first of all, I didn't say that. I just,
Okay.
But what I'm alluding to here is the fact that the statistics tend to show that if you are going vegan and veggie, I would put dollars to donuts on how many people are way too big. Because
Right.
it does seem like there is a little bit of a diet correction, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make here is, especially in a sport where people are competing all the time, there's lots of talk of diet and protein and all this sort of stuff. You have a lot of people that I'm sure probably comment on that. So my question to you is, because you're that guy who has been at the forefront of that, what are like some of the benefits that you found, and how did you end up going that route?
My parents have been like vegan, at least 99% vegan, vegetarian, for over 20 years. So I've had that kind of growing up. They never forced it upon us. They let us, eat meat. They would, my mom would cook like meat on the side for us too. But I always kind of had that in my mind, and I was like, I tried it when I was younger. I tried it for like a few months, and then I stopped. And then I was like, I always pushed it, like, I'll wait till I'm older, maybe when I'm like 30s, or maybe when I'm 40, I'll start, uh, and then I found out my brother did it, and I was just kind of like, that was a big shock to me, even though that didn't last very long for him. But at the time, I was like, wow, he's doing it, okay, and whatever. It's actually a book. Don't a skinny bitch. Don't make fun of me. But yeah, the book was called Skinny Bitch, and yeah, it's kind of just like written, in a funny kind of way. But whatever, it talks about veganism and stuff, and yeah, it kind of like woke me up, and I was like, wow, I guess whatever. I'll just try today. I'll try not to eat any meat today, and then that went good, and then the next day I was like, all right, let's see if I could do, I kept it up, and a week went by, and I didn't feel like, man, I'm missing anything, and then a month went by, and I was like, wow, I'm actually feeling a lot better, so, I just adapted it as part of the lifestyle, and never looked back.
Okay, I mean, that is cool to understand that your parents had that insight that could be a good avenue to take, and that they didn't push that on you, that you just kind of said, hey, I'm interested in it, and I do see the benefits of it. Having said that, I'm a person who just, like, I train so that I can eat, is really what I do.
I've heard this a lot. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the real truth here, is I'm fat kid, loves the food, but, like, if I know I'm going to eat very, very well that night, I'm the guy that says, can we go 5 more rounds? Because I need to... Right. This is not going to be okay if I don't. So I just wonder, though, when you are putting together that, when did you see it was having, or did it have an effect on your jiu-jitsu? Did it just become part of your way of life that you just said, oh, okay. Does it have an impact? I don't know.
I think definitely yes. I mean, I think everything is 90% mental. Yes, I believe for sure. That there are benefits to it health-wise. I mean, that wasn't my main motivation for doing it, but I think that's the main thing, is just being happy with your choices and, being positive about it. Like, yeah, if you're eating vegan or whatever, eating a really healthy plate, but the whole time you're not enjoying it and you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm doing this because of, this or whatever, then it's probably going to be less nutritious than if you got a cheeseburger from the drive-thru and you're like, oh man, this is so good, bro. This is just what I needed right now. Let's hit the spot. So, I mean, again, I think there is a line, of course, of, yeah, you can't just be eating cheeseburgers 3 times a day, and expect that no results are going to show from that. But I think it's very important. Just your attitude is the most important thing, and you got to be happy with what you're doing. But I mean, as far as like what I felt, the only main difference that I felt, which is a big difference, I felt like my energy didn't have as many energy swings as I used to. Like, kind of when I ate I ate a lot of meat. I would grill every day. Like just put something on the grill, whatever, so I would eat a lot, and I would get those, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like just, you want to just go into a coma, just kind of get tired for like a few hours, want to nap it out. And that doesn't happen too much anymore. I feel like I have a better sustained energy going on.
How did you break that? Because I live in that. I don't know any different. I will say this. My wife has been pretty good about being like, hey, let's pick like a Monday or something where we just don't have meat, kind of a thing, like consciously,
right.
And that's fine, but that's one day. Like
right.
the mental capacity for doing that is not super difficult. But if you're the guy who was out there grilling and doing and enjoying that sort of a thing, I don't know how.
Sorry, I gotta plug in my PC, man, because it's going.
Yeah, go right
The
ahead.
battery's going low.
You go do that.
So,
I'm going to go ahead and do a quick plug over this way. So,
okay.
if you guys have not started following us, go follow us at Grappling Hour on Twitter, on comment, on Cupid, whatever, you know, all those things. On social media, we love you guys if you're going ahead and following us on Instagram. We just put up a really cool highlight video of our good friend Justin Hamilton's opening of his new gym, which will air right after this with an interview with Justen and a little sneak preview of what his gym looks like, and it's amazing. Had a great time out there covering that on, what was that, Saturday? The days are very, very close to me now. It looks like Enrico is taking care of his plug. Let's discuss this. Okay, so how did you do that? Because I don't understand.
Yeah. So how do you break the cycle? Again, yeah, I mean, again, I just took it with one day at a time. You know, like, yeah, I'm not going to eat meat today, you know, and then the day passed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try it tomorrow. And again, I think, yeah, definitely preparation is important, knowledge. You know, like a lot of people do it wrong, and then they don't know what to eat, and they're not eating enough food, and they're like, oh, I went vegan, I felt really weak, you know, I feel, you know, I'm feeling weak, you know, you're just not eating enough, you know, you're not, or maybe you're eating things that are not very nutritious, you know, it's, you know, Oreos and French fries are vegan, Coca-Cola is vegan, you know, so you could go on a diet of Oreos, French fries, and Coca-Cola, and you could be vegan, you know, so, so I think, yeah, just preparation. You gotta, I mean, I know like on the West Coast, probably in California, all around, every time I visited there, like eating out is much easier. There's always like a vegan option or somewhere, something you could eat wherever you're at. In Miami, that's very hard still, you know, it's growing, but, you know, so I eat more than 90% of the time I'm eating at my house, you know, I'm making the foods I'm eating. So I think that helps a lot because it's tough, you know, when you're out on the road and, you know, you're hungry, you're trying to figure it out, you know, you know.
Yeah, you were very kind to say California has a lot of options. We do, but, you know, we also have a lot of expense that goes with that option, so the eating at home is not a bad choice. I just know that whenever, you know, I used to be a speech and debate coach, and we would always have one or two veggies or vegans, and so that you've got this team full of like 30 people that you go, all right, guys, where are we going? And then you hear this lone voice just being like, can we get a vegan option? And you're like, hold on, we got to figure this out for everybody. There's 30 people here. And so you're literally looking around and like, especially when you lived in the Midwest, and this is what, 15 years ago, you're looking around and going, there's no options for you. I don't know how to make something appear at 9 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
So I do understand that, but I also understand the flip side of that is in California, it's like you have 12 different options and you're like, did I pay $20 for a salad?
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's the tough part as far as like, yeah, being vegan sometimes, like going out, you know, with, you know, yeah, like situations like that, you're in a group and, you know, you don't want to be like the one lone guy, like, hey, is there anything, you know, is there a vegan option there or whatever, which that could be. I know I always try to, you know, be as the least bit impeding as I can.
Well, the good news is you're the coach now. So you're the guy that just gets to be like, well, I guess
we're going here.
You meat eaters better figure out something. Hopefully they have a meat option. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, let's talk a few more things just because I know you've got tons of things that you need to get back to. But, you know, I'm so curious as to a couple things. Number one, why are you not, as one of the most recognizable vegans in all of jiu-jitsu, like, why do we not have more vegan things endorsing you? Like, why do you not have, like, why are you not the Michael Jordan of veganism for jiu-jitsu? Because I feel like as one of the notable people who is out there and doing it, like, you know.
I don't know, bro. Maybe I'm just not promoting it enough, I guess, you know. That could be one discredit to myself. I guess I don't put myself out there that much, so I'm not, you know, again, I try not to, like, I don't like to force people into things too much either. So, I guess a lot of people don't know I'm vegan unless they really follow me closely, So like they're like, "Oh, really?" And they find out that I'm vegan. Most of the time they're surprised. So it's probably my own fault.
Well, let me see if I can help out here. We do a segment on this show where we find out if some people have sponsors, and we like to do a segment that's called "Why You Should Sponsor This Human Being." And it's just really easy. It's usually I just take over and I just kind of point at you and I tell people why they're wrong and that they should be giving you some money to do all the sponsorship. It goes a little something like this. Hi, friends. I don't know you. I don't know if we know each other. But I'll tell you this right now. The person I'm speaking to is Enrico Cocco. He's an amazing jiu-jitsu competitor. He's beaten up a number of my friends, all very, very good jiu-jitsu individuals. But what he does is he does this thing where he doesn't really eat meat. He's a vegan. I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to get any one of your vegan messages. I don't know what they are, but you can get them endorsed on this man, and you can have him put it on his social media, which a lot of jiu-jitsu nerds watch. And as one of the more prominent individuals who's out there competing, I mean, he's competing how many times in 40 days?
Every 8 days. Every 8 days.
It's a good return on investment. If I'm speaking to the people who are in charge of the finances, that ROI is very, very high. So I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I think you want to endorse this human being because he's quite good. He's been to a number of ADCCs, and I'm pretty sure he'll probably be back, if not sooner than later. So, buy low.
Thank you, Ralph.
Get in now.
Yeah. There you go.
You're welcome.
I approve this message.
I'll be taking my 20% cut later when I see. So. Enrico, so what do you have coming up next? What are the next super fights, sir?
Up next, I got Kasai, their super show in Orlando on 4th of July. I'll be taking on Manshur Kara there.
That's a great match.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And then 2 days after that, July 6th, I'll be driving over to Tampa to compete in the Jits King 16-man under 165 tournament.
Okay, now I wanted to address this one because that tournament, first of all, hot fire. Love it. The names. Who are some of the names that are involved in that tournament?
You got Keith Krikorian is in there. Myself, William Tackett, Jason Hayden. I'm drawing blanks right now.
I mean, those
Kevin Maicha.
Several names you just listed out there are pretty fun people to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty stacked. I mean, I'd say like 10 out of the 16 are pretty prominent names,
But speaking of names, I don't want to... Jits King. Now, you don't need to say anything. This isn't your job. You have to go compete of it. I'm not going to ruin your money. I'm just saying. I don't know how I feel about the word jits, just period.
Right.
And to be the king of a word that I'm not fully in love with, because I feel like bros say jits.
Yeah.
Like when I was searching around for different names to call things, I remembered sending it to my co-host for Verbal Tap. And I was like, what do you think of the name of Jits? And he's like, I'll stop you right there. And he goes, didn't you write for Jits Magazine? He's like, dude, I love that. But anything more sounds like, yo, bro, you doing Jits tonight? Yeah, I think I'm going to do Jits. Let's go do Jits. We're so bros. So we have a thing. So anyway, Jits Kings was like, when I heard that, I go, hot fire tournament. Let's work on the name.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of different.
I don't think they're changing the name because they got a whole thing. They got a whole theme going on. There's like a throne where your name gets engraved into the throne if you win, and then you get a crown if you win, plus money. So
hey, I'm okay with that.
I don't think the name's changing.
All of that is fine. You can call it Grappler King or Jiu-Jitsu King. I would even be like, dope. Jiu-Jitsu King is not that much harder. You could like scribble that in on the very bottom of it all. I'm just saying the word jits, sometimes, I don't know if you see it with people, but there's definitely like what you say, you just go, okay.
Yeah.
Jits. Okay. Sorry.
I feel you. That used to be like a Jeet Kune Do thing, at least in my knowledge. Like the Jeet Kune Do guys would call it jits. Oh, we're going to practice jits. back in the day. I don't know, but now it's coming around a little bit more.
You're too zen to be bothered by anything, so I'm not asking for that. For those of us who just have to see it, and I'm sure I'm going to be speaking with other people who are competing in that tournament, I'm going to say it a few more times. So if you see my body just naturally like do that every time I say it, you'll understand why. So that's a hot fire tournament. Is that the end of it, or do you have another super fighter?
No, yeah. Then after that, I got one more. July 19th, I'm going to be doing Substars. It's a new promotion in Miami. They're really making some moves now, and I'll be facing Dante Leon there for the main event. So another fire matchup. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the nicest part of this is, dude, when I saw that you were stringing together all of these, I mean, it's not uncommon to see athletes, even at your caliber, compete regularly and get out there a lot. But you are competing against some very high-profile people in a short amount of time that most people would just space out a little bit more. So I thought that was pretty dope, and I definitely, we've had friends who know each other. We've had people talk about you on the show. I've been a fan, and like I said, it's always great when I know people speak highly of you as both a competitor and a practitioner and a training partner. That it always makes me go, yeah, we should probably chat at some point.
Sure, man.
So the only, I guess, request that I have is, if you could just stop taking my moves, and stop winning with that, because I thought I picked a pretty impossible move to kind of do live, because there's a weird thing. When you hit a north-south choke, people are okay with that. But you raise that head just a little bit. The first time I was doing it, people were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, I'm sorry, this is from pro wrestling. This is a dragon sleeper. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, please don't do that. And I go, so you mean to tell me if they're just on their back and I do the same thing and their back's on the mat, that it's fine? They're like, yeah, that's okay. And I go, okay.
All right.
So when I saw you do that, I was just kind of like, ugh. Enrico obviously was inspired by my moves, which I guess is okay.
That was my Instagram creeping. I was able to come on that. And, yeah.
I just like the fact
the dragon sleeper.
I just like the fact that I saw, of all people, John Combs, a person who I had taught it to, being like, Raph, is this it? And I was like, this is very weird. Why are all these black belts suddenly doing these things that I thought I was just like, oh, we're just doing this for shits. This is fun. And then all of a sudden I see you do it. I was like, no, that's pretty clean.
Oh yeah, I got a whole series from there, bro.
Do you really?
I thought that was like I invented that, Then a bunch of people like commented on, oh yes, this was done. We used to do this in Jean Jacques in 1998 and this and that. I was like, oh, cool.
Well, what's his face? Justin Rader. His version is called a decaparator or something, and like everybody, like they have it. And like I said, there's certain things that I took from pro wrestling that I like when I would first start doing jiu-jitsu. I would see like an omoplata was called like a crippler crossface in pro wrestling terms, but like instead you pull the neck in a crippler crossface, and I was like, oh, and I would look at it and I go, I probably shouldn't do that, right? And they're like, yeah, no one's gonna train with you if you do that. And I go, okay, cool. Meanwhile, I see all these catch wrestlers doing that sort of stuff, and that's just like an everyday occurrence to them. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but if I think it really, really hurts them, I probably won't do it. But just know that it's set up like this. So when I saw like that whole Dragon Sleeper setup, I was just like, yeah, that would be a quick ender for a number of people. And it slides in so nicely, too.
Yeah, I mean, the way I do it is usually I go for the north-south, and then if the guy doesn't allow me to get low enough, then I'll slide in, and I kind of do like a bulldog choke from right there. Yep. But then sometimes they bridge over. When they bridge over, that's when I step over them. And, depending, yes, there's definitely some crank in there. It's not, you're getting choked, but there is definitely some of the neck getting flexed in there,
I feel like once you get to a certain competitive level, you've got to do some things that you may not be proud of afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to survive out there, trying to...
Hey, if you don't do it, they're going to do it to you.
Exactly.
That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I laugh about it. I always do this, where when somebody doesn't take my north-south choke, and they start moving up, I'm always like, no, take this one. I'm trying to be nice to you.
Right, yeah.
I swear to God, if you just take this one, I'm not going to hurt your neck. Just
Yeah, I've let go of that move multiple times in practice just because, like, guys that don't want to tap, like, it might be a little bit lined up more closer to their jaw or whatever, and they don't want to tap, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to snap anyone's neck. So
I know. And, you know, especially when you're in jiu-jitsu, there's a little bit of stubbornness that goes along with it. Well, Enrico, can we give any shout-outs to anybody who's been helping you train or any other sponsors who have been helping out? Because I know that you have a great camp that you're training with and a great school, so we'd love to give out shout-outs to those people.
Thank you, man. Yeah, just my gym, Zen Jiu-Jitsu, Miami. We're located in Kendall, Florida. I mean, that's where I do 90% of my training, you know, with my students. And, you know, those guys are my brothers. Yeah, they're the ones that get me prepared. And, of course, Fight Sports, you know, it's also a great supplement. They help me all the time, Cyborg and all the guys out there. And, yeah, any sponsors looking to help this guy out, I am available. Right now I'm currently sponsoring myself, so, you know, you want to jump on the Cocco train, you know, I'm here.
We're maybe gonna finesse that one with the Jits King
There you go.
conversation as well, but Cocco train could actually, you could probably get some traction on that with hashtags.
Yeah. My students are all there. It's Cocco got the recipe, and Chef Cocco is cooking. That's their tags for me.
That's pretty funny.
I apparently have the recipe, so, you know.
I mean, again, as a pro wrestling fan, it's a vague take on The Rock's "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?" So
True that.
I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna hate on anybody. Enrico, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to stop by with us. Again, it's been a long time coming, and I'm so happy we were able to do it today. And dude, I look forward to seeing all these clips of you continuing to destroy it. You're just a very nice human being, and again, as somebody who's watched your DVDs and have watched you from afar, I just have a high appreciation for your work, sir.
Thank you very much, Raph. It was a pleasure, man. Anytime.
Absolutely. All right, guys, stick right here. We will be right back. What we're going to do right now is we're going to throw to a nice highlight clip from the weekend where you guys got to see me over at Justen Hamilton's Modern MMA and Fitness, and then you're going to see an interview with me and him coming up right now. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am here with Justen Hamilton, who is having the grand opening of his new gym out here in Pasadena called Modern Martial Arts and Fitness, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was there something wrong with the old-time jiu-jitsu? Why modern?
Well, we just wanted to do some things a little bit different. So obviously we have like a bit of a modern look with the all white and stuff, and just, you know, keeping everything fresh and clean looking. And
Because old is dirty, right?
old is dirty, exactly. Particularly anything old that's associated with you. So we figured we'd do something a little bit different, and we're really happy with how it turned out.
No, I mean, I've told you this off camera, but it does feel like an Apple store. It is very modern in that sense. Whenever I see a name, well, first of all, I like the design. The design is cool. So I like the little logo. But whenever I see a name, I always go, okay, that took some thought to figure out how you came up with that. So when was the moment you knew you wanted to call it Modern Martial Arts and Fitness?
About 5 years ago, when I was, I came on as the general manager of an academy I was working at back in Illinois, and I was trying to kind of revamp some of the things we were doing and stuff. and I had this name in mind, this Modern Martial Arts and Fitness, and they were like, they didn't like it at all.
Oh.
And so years later, I was like, well, now's my time to do things kind of the way I would like them to be done and stuff. And the idea with the modern name is kind of, kind of not perpetuating some of the things we do in martial arts that we just recite as dogma without critically thinking about them, and just trying to advance beyond that. And of course, there are some traditions we maintain, but some of them we don't maintain.
Okay. Okay. That's a nice little thing. Like, what are the ones that you're more prominent? I don't want to get into the ones that are bad, but what are some of the maybe traditions that you do keep?
Yeah, so like for instance, I do like the idea of bowing before we get on the mat, and I like this idea of kind of respect the space will respect you back, things like that. But some of the other things, particularly the things associated with hierarchies and stuff, it's kind of sometimes there's a bit of like hazing in jiu-jitsu. White belts have to do this, white belts have to do that. That sort of stuff I was never crazy about. So just kind of thinking more critically about why we do certain things and why we choose not to do certain
Okay,
things.
but just real talk though. I mean, like, they're interns. White belts are the new intern. So why not just have them go out and get you some coffee? I mean, these are really lost opportunities. And this is a new gym. We have to be thinking very financially smart on these things. So, like, listen, white belts, after you mop, we also expect you to clean the next two residences next to us, because we got to stay classy all around.
Aren't you a white belt?
Nope. Thank you, though.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, it depends.
Shouldn't you be, though?
Shouldn't I be? You have very little evidence for that, sir. I would like to point out something. I was going to say how great your seminar was, but I think that's on hold.
Please continue.
Yeah, all right. Oh, this is so weird. How did this white belt know how good your seminar was? Especially once you start getting into your Ashi entries from now. This is one thing I really do appreciate is when you were putting this together, you said that you wanted to do a neglected position, in your opinion,
Yes.
which is trying to get out from escapes, because most people think like escapes are, one, easy, two, they just don't put so much attention to it where they can become an attacking position. That's an opinion I tend to hold as well. So tell us a little bit about the seminar and why you decided to choose that.
Yeah, so we did a seminar that was particularly focusing on the bottom mount position, how to get comfortable there defending attacks, moving into escapes, and ultimately moving into attacks of our own. This started me that were a little bit different than how I was taught to get out of the position and such. And over time, what this resulted in, particularly as I developed attacks from there, is it really became a position where, I'm having a hard round, things aren't going the way I want. Well, I'll just let them mount me and I'll heal them, which, was frustrating for some of my instructors too, of like, stop doing that. That's not ultimately a good thing to get mounted. But I've always felt, the more comfortable you are in the worst positions, the more comfortable you're going to be everywhere else, and the more confident you're going to be moving into attacks, because you don't have this great fear of, okay, what if this fails and I get mounted, so what? And so particularly with me coming from MMA, I'm always thinking in MMA terms, and the mount is one of those positions where, every card you watch, there will be a handful of people that they get mounted, they give their back, they get strangled, and I just don't understand it at this point. There are, you go on YouTube, you can see, a teenager show you how to get out of mount, and it's not too. MMA fighters have enough things to worry about, obviously. Yeah. It's not as simple. They can't just focus all their attention on jiu-jitsu or even just on technique. They have to be well-conditioned. They have a lot of things they have to consider. But it's such a neglected position, particularly in MMA, that I really wanted to focus on that for this seminar and get people really comfortable there.
That's cool. And I saw a mix of new and old people who were kind of like, benefiting from it in different ways. Like I saw some of the people being like, oh man, this is a little advanced. I wasn't expecting to be this advanced. And the new people were like, man, I'm getting this. Like this makes sense to me. And that's always good to see when you can combine those things. You mentioned MMA, you mentioned Illinois. These are two things that raise red flags to me. Number one, I lived in Illinois for 3 years.
Did you really?
I did.
Which part?
I lived in Bloomington Normal, Illinois.
Oh, no kidding.
I got recruited on a speech scholarship to perform for their speech and debate team at Illinois State University.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it was great. It's
no wonder you don't like Illinois.
I like it just fine. I love Chicago. I love that place. It's not like I don't like Illinois. I love Illinois. People are great. What I didn't like was the snow. And so I have formed bitter and angry muscle memory to snow, because the first day there was snow, like me and my roommates, we were all from California, we were like out there being like, wee, snow, and then day two was like, no.
Yep.
Why is this a thing? So, are you from Illinois? Is that where
Yeah. So I lived in Illinois until I've been living in California for almost 3 years now. So I lived in Illinois until I was 28, and that's a long time to live in Illinois. It's a
Yeah.
lot of snow. It's a lot of cold weather. And so, yeah, you certainly do meet plenty of great people. We have better food in Illinois. We've got a lot of really good junk food, anyway.
You don't get to talk about junk food.
Why is that?
Look at listen.
Uh-huh.
What is this? This is not someone who eats.
What are you talking about? So I was blessed and cursed with a very fast metabolism, but let me tell you, my friend, I do eat. I eat plenty.
I don't believe you. I just listen. You don't have the resume.
We can have an eat-off. I mean,
That's a stupid thing. Listen, I'll show you how much I can eat. I can eat
That's-
more than you.
that's
First
precisely
of all,
what I'm saying.
I'm the slowest eater in the world, so there's no way to accurately measure that.
uh-huh.
Because what I do is what a marathon runner does for running.
Uh-huh.
So I sit there and just go, everybody, I'm going to have a nice social dinner with you all, and I'm going to chat with you all. You're going to feel awkward at about minute 30 because you'll all be done with your food and I'm still going. Some of you will have concern at hour 1, but keep going. Just know that you're appeasing me. This is what keeps my metabolism from making me super obese. So, yeah, I don't believe you.
All right,
And
all
how
right.
much? What do you weigh right now?
Probably about 143.
Yeah, okay, you're in the little people division. Because here's the thing: all of you guys under $155 are in the same division of me. So it's like every time people are like, "Oh man, what about these bantamweights?" I was like, "Who?"
Uh-huh.
And they go, "Yeah, these guys." And I was like, "They're all one division of me." So you guys can all jump up and down to me in my brain.
That's fair.
So, anyway, I'd love to hear where you think Chicago. What is the best food in Chicago besides pizza? Don't tell me
Ooh.
pizza.
So the best food, I've got an easy answer for you, and the answer is hot dogs. So out here, you guys have these things that they do look like hot dogs, and they almost smell like hot dogs, but they're not hot dogs.
Are you talking about a Dodger dog?
What I'm talking about, in terms of, when you're in Illinois, you have to get what's called a Vienna beef hot dog. Once you've had those are the only hot dogs you will ever eat. Okay, there are some that come close. Nathan's is okay.
Okay.
There are some that are, but
Where do you rate a Costco hot dog on this scale? Well, first of all, Rue, this is equipment. Don't ruin my microphone. Second of all, a Costco hot dog is the rock foundation of our economy.
Mm.
If that thing ever goes above $1.50, that's when you know we're really in trouble as a nation.
Have you had a Vienna beef hot dog?
Yeah, no, I get it. I've had great food. Listen.
Hold on. It's not. Have you had a Vienna beef hot dog?
Yeah, I have.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I had it over there. I'm not trying to ask you to do a comparison. I'm saying when you live out here, what do you survive off of? Because for $1.50, and you go to Costco and you go, all things considered, $1.50, not my worst waste of money. However, when you go to Dodger Stadium and you get a Dodger dog, I know there's a little bit of people who are like, what am I paying for? And I go, I understand. Listen, it's fine.
Now, fortunately, out here in a couple spots in California, they do have a Chicago-style restaurant called Portillo's.
Yeah.
And if it were not for Portillo's, I don't know what I would do.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But I make the drive somewhat regularly to, Moreno Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That's so sad.
I'm an authentic Chicagoan. So.
You're about a few diabetes short of being a true Chicagoan. Illinois, we love you. You're one of our best markets. Thank you. I put in my time there. You know how you are. There's nothing I need to apologize for. They know how big they are. I want to point this out, though. So, where does, jiu-jitsu and MMA start for you?
Where does it start?
Yeah, where does it start? When did you start doing all of this?
Oh, I see. So when I was 15, 16, I was actually training Hapkido of all things.
Okay.
And it was enjoyable. And at one point, one of my training partners, who was a bit older than me, he brought in his son, who was right about my age, and he said, my son trains this thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's going to come in and you can do around with them and see what it's like. And, as you would guess, he absolutely mopped the floor with me, and I immediately was like, okay, I train with you now, you teach me this stuff that you have. And it was that simple. And so he was my first jiu-jitsu instructor, was like a 16-year-old kid. And after, training with him maybe once a week for like a month or two, I actually left the academy I was training at. I went to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy in Illinois called Ohana. which was in the Novu Nyao family, and trained there for a bit. And then I met my Muay Thai coach at the time, and then he went to open up an MMA academy, and I trained there. And then little by little, I kind of found myself in all these different academies. And throughout that time, because everything was sort of focused around MMA, I actually didn't have a belt in jiu-jitsu for the longest time. So I put on the gi and the white belt for the first time just maybe a little over 4 years ago. It really wasn't that long ago, yeah.
Wow.
So I had already been competing at like the expert level and won some tournaments and stuff, but technically it was still a white belt, if anything. And but then I went from white belt to purple belt in like a year, I guess, because I had so much training and stuff.
Previous training,
But he really did start me white belt, 0 stripes. I had to earn a couple stripes and work my way up. And then moved out to California and earned my brown belt under Sean Williams. And then 2 of his black belts, Dane Molina and Mike Farrell, actually opened up their own academy, Golden State Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Torrance. And I trained under them now.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. So I guess the question is, at what point do you decide that you're the psychopath that loves the mixed martial arts aspect of it? Because there's something, I don't want to say wrong with people who do mixed martial arts and do MMA as an actual thing.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a difference between those who maybe just practice jiu-jitsu and those who decide I want to punch face for a little bit. So when did you know that you wanted to punch face?
So for me, I mean, the only, at least in my area, at the time that I started training, really the only reason anyone wandered into a martial arts academy is because you wanted to learn how to fight. You wanted to learn at least how to defend yourself. The sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the furthest thing from my mind. I don't know when I first was even aware that it was a sport, but it certainly wasn't in the beginning. And so really, MMA, or at least, kind of like an open rule set of fighting is really, was my main motivation at that time. Not necessarily to compete, but at least to learn truly how to fight. So it really wasn't until years in, probably like pretty close to when I was moving out here, that I was like, oh, there are people who they don't care about this at all. They just want to do jiu-jitsu, which still seems strange to me. I get it, and I get that training jiu-jitsu is it has its different appeal, and you can do jiu-jitsu with less fear of injury and stuff, and that's really a big part of the motivation for how we set up our academy is that I always liken it to the conversation in coming from the academic world. I liken it to the difference between what we call a research university and a teaching university.
I see.
Whereas, at a research university, you're mainly there to produce work, and so your experience as a student is really, you'll often have professors who, they make their TAs do the majority of their work. You don't really have a relationship with the professor themselves, but you're surrounded by, people that have the resources for you to produce work, and it's sort of like a sink or swim environment. Contrast that with like a small liberal arts college where, you might be in a room full of 25 students, you actually have attention from your teacher, and you could really, your instructors are there to truly teach.
Yeah.
And so what our idea was for this academy is really where people can learn the mixed martial arts and learn, the transitions, the interfaces between striking and grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, all these things, but really be taught it rather than just training. Having been to a lot of MMA academies, I know, people often run MMA practices. They don't always teach MMA classes.
Sure.
And so, our vision is really a teaching university for the martial arts.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned this academic thing, and, if I had questions about your sanity with the punch face, that's one thing. But you're opening a new business. At the same time, you're trying to finish your doctorate. So I guess the first question is, what's wrong with you? And the second question is, why?
So, it's a good question.
Why do you need a doctorate to, be even better at this? How do they go hand in hand, I guess, is what's not making sense to me.
Yeah, so I don't know that they initially went hand in hand. So when I was an undergrad, I had this idea that why don't I set a goal for myself of I'll get a career that I really love before the time it would take me to earn a PhD.
Okay.
And at that point, I'll stop school.
Okay.
And if that never happens, well, then at least I'll have my PhD.
Sure.
Which is as every bit as insane as it sounds.
Yeah.
And then pretty early on, down that path, I was like, why don't I just get a PhD one way or another?
Yeah.
And I truly do love academia. So I'm a sociologist, and I absolutely love doing sociological research and teaching sociology. I really do love it. And if I didn't, I would stop right now.
You teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but then you also teach at the university. Like, I need you to understand some of my frustration.
Uh-huh.
When do you sleep? When do you have time to do any of this? Because you're also still practicing jiu-jitsu for yourself. So add that on top of, you're in a relationship. Are you married? Is that what this is?
Married. Look at that.
Well, look at that. You have that. Mine fell off.
Did it?
Yeah, and the wife's just kind of like, no one wants you, so you're fine. How? Why? Because the why still isn't there. So I get the motivation behind it. But like, Jesus Christ, man, you can chill on this for a little while. You know what I mean? Like, open up a gym and then go do the doctorate. Like, I get these things, but to be in the 4th year of doctorate school and doing this at the same time, very difficult.
So having the privilege to work with undergraduates, one of the things that I see so commonly is that for a lot of people, they really, unfortunately, like a lot of people, I think, really struggle to figure out what they want to do. To find something that they love that will make them work hard enough. And if anything, I've always had the opposite problem. There are like 10 careers that I would 100% love to do. And so the idea of doing just one is like, it cannot happen. So to do 2 is pushing it, but we should be able to settle for 2. That might be enough for now.
I'm going to stop you at 2. I don't know that I have much say in this, but I'd like to think I have some weight in it. I think 2's good.
Yeah, no, 2 is plenty, and it's a lot of work, of course, but if there's something I am particularly good at, I think it's time management. I schedule my days pretty much by the hour. I save a lot of notes in my phone. 8 o'clock we're doing this, 9 o'clock we're doing that, and I've found with, as long as you can manage your time well, like academia is not easy, of course, but us opening did fortunately coincide with me completing my coursework. So I'm at a stage now where I'm preparing for what we call qualifying exams, and I'm working actively on my dissertation research, but I at least don't have to attend classes anymore.
That's good.
So it makes it more manageable of not having, these time commitments of having to be in a certain place anyway.
Well, what is your dissertation on?
It's on women's mixed martial arts actions, actually.
Is this cheating? Like, because it
feels like cheating.
It feels
right?
like cheating.
It does feel like cheating.
I'll tell you why. Because when I was doing like my graduate work, I was getting to that point where they're like, "Well, you need to do something in communication. What are you going to do?" And I was like, "Well, there's this thing called the UFC, public relations blunders."